Namaste and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've just got the footage of the Sunjwan attack. Just queuing up here, live here on the newsroom. We start this edition of the Nation at 5 with there you go. That's the person, that's the terrorist there trying to sneak in and try and counter this attack at the CISF group, where one personnel was martyred, but both these terrorists were later neutralized. Huge amount of firing that happened. You could see, there you go. Again, on the CCTV itself, heavy amount of firing, explosions which are visible. This is a dramatic video that we are seeing. We can also see one of the terrorists actually running right through on the road with arm to the teeth, running across to take cover and to take shelter to continue with the attack. But this is the entire Sunjwan attack. There you see right now, as you see as it moves, in about 2 or 3 seconds, you will see one of the terrorists running through. There you go. There's some movement here. And this person is firing, and there you go. There that person is running across. This is the terrorist running across and trying to take cover away as there is a counter fire. Tejinder Sodhi joining us. Tejinder, this is dated 22nd of April. And can you take us through the visuals? What is the footage that we have accessed on our CCTV footage?
See, Anand, this is the early morning footage of today when the terrorists, they were hiding in the Sunjwan area. After that, a cordon and search operation was started by the security forces. This was the intelligence-based input of the SOG of Jammu and Kashmir Police and the CISF personnel. They were part of the outer cordon. When the terrorists, they spotted that security forces are now zeroing in on them, and they started firing indiscriminately on the security forces, in which one ASI of the CISF attained martyrdom. The encounter, which lasted for more than 5 hours, 2 terrorists, they were gunned down. You can see in this visual, the security force personnel, they are also chasing the terrorists. You can see heavy exchange of firing. You can see grenade blast in this CCTV footage, which has been exclusively accessed by CNN News 18. So this was a very dramatic operation which went on for 5 hours, but our security forces, they were successful in neutralizing both these terrorists who are believed to be foreigners. They are believed to be Pakistani. These terrorists, they were carrying suicide vests and large quantity of arms and ammunition. And as per the Director General of Jammu and Kashmir Police, their main motive was to create a mayhem during or before the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to Jammu on 24th. But the security forces managed to neutralize these 2 terrorists, and they foiled their nefarious design. Had these
Tejinder, if I can ask you, and we'll try and go across to Arunima, because she's there at the she was there at the spot like you were there also, and she's seen the number of how heavily armed they were, the number of rounds that have been fired, and this encounter lasted for a bit. This moment that we have on CCTV, when is this moment? And is that the terrorists running across to try and get some cover after firing after the attack?
Yes, Anand. This CCTV footage is at 3:58 a.m. This is the time when the encounter started. The first fight took place at around 3:25, and after that, a heavy exchange of firing started. You can see that these terrorists, they are trying to run away, take shelter, but they are being chased by the security forces, and the heavy exchange of firing and blasts are visible in this footage. Yes, Anand.
Yes, even in the footage, heavy exchange of fire and blasts are visible. We can see in the footage very, very clearly that the terrorist is trying to run, and there are bullets, there are firing, there is explosion. That's why the entire screen gets smoked up. Arunima is there on ground at this spot. Arunima, you also saw so many bullets and shells that were still lying around. And there was a house whose panes were damaged, windows were damaged. This early morning encounter, and this CCTV footage dramatic as one of the terrorists tries to run for cover.
Yes, the sequence of events, and now this footage is actually telling you how serious the situation was, and this was just a few meters away from the army camp there in Sunjwan, which has come under attack earlier. So in that sense also, if they had managed to just run across the road and entered the camp, the danger could have been much more. We've managed to learn from sources in the establishment, in the security grid here, that the encounter was difficult because this was a congested locality. They knew that they had taken shelter, the terrorists had taken shelter in some house there. But to figure out which house, they actually this time relied on a fixed drone. A drone was flown and the fixed drone got itself stationed over this locality because it also had thermal imaging technology. It managed to locate where exactly the terrorists were hiding, and so that is how these two terrorists were zeroed down upon in the bathroom of Anwar Hussein's house. Police then called Anwar Hussein, whose wife and two kids, a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old girl, were the only people in the house. Anwar had gone for sehri to his father's house nearby. He was then called by the police, sent to this house. He initially said he knew nothing, but then came back and confirmed that the two terrorists were hiding in the bathroom. The suspicion is that there could have been some local support. Who that local support was is a matter of investigation, but that is the suspicion. But this drone, coupled with the input and overall coordination between the forces, ensured that the two terrorists who had suicide vests could inflict minimum damage.
Yes, so fixed-wing drones were used, so technology was used, but there is also support from the locals. Now, was there any threat to Anwar Hussein's family? Or because Anwar initially did not know these terrorists were actually hiding inside the bathroom of his house?
Sequence of events as narrated by his wife and children were, this was around just before Sehri. This is the month of Ramadan. This is an area which has a lot of Muslim population. They get up around 3:30, 4 o'clock for Sehri. So the police feels that the reason these terrorists left around 3:25 is also because they wanted to avoid casualty of civilians in this, Muslim area. And that's because, that's why just before Sehri, they tried to break the cordon which had been laid after a specific intelligence input. Now, then of Anwar Hussain, the wife got scared. Like I said, Anwar had gone to his father's place. She called up Anwar and he said, lock everything up. But very soon they landed on his, from where all the UBGS. And when the retaliatory fire came from JKP and CISF, they then went and hid in the bathroom. That is where this fixed drone with thermal imaging came in handy. The police was very sure that the terrorists were hiding somewhere in the vicinity, and they managed to close in on that bathroom and finish the encounter by about 90.
True. Tejinder is also with us on the phone line. Arunima, just stay with us. Okay, we've lost Tejinder there. But Arunima, if we look at the CCTV footage, these terrorists were not only armed to the teeth, but they were also wearing fatigues. So were they trying to pass themselves off as security personnel? Arunima, can you hear me?
Is that from me, Anna?
Well, Arunima, in the CCTV footage, one of the terrorists is running for cover. We can see the terrorists dressed in fatigues, armed to the teeth. Were they hoping that they will be able to pass themselves off as security personnel?
Well, looks like, and that is why I'm telling you that, it was a cordon and it was an operation which the forces think is very successful because the army camp is not very far from where the encounter happened. So if they were hoping to get inside the army camp, then this is a successful operation much before the camp. The suspicion also is that perhaps by camouflaging themselves as security personnel, they wanted to break that cordon that had been made. There was a specific input that the grid has received that terrorists had infiltrated around that nalla, which I showed in my ground report. And that's why a cordon had been put around that nalla. So perhaps they were wearing fatigue, hoping that they would pass off as security grid personnel, army or police personnel and manage to hoodwink. But it didn't work out as per plan. They were forced to fire because at that naka, at that checkpoint, they were stopped.
Right.
They then used an UBGN.
Right. Arunima, thank you for your inputs. Tejinder Sodhi getting us the CCTV footage exclusive again here at CNN News 18. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been an action-packed day and a huge amount of news breaks that you've seen on your number one news destination, that is CNN News 18. But now what we're going to bring to you here on the Nation at 5 is perhaps the biggest investigation, the biggest deep dive into the ongoing and the rampant conversion racket in our country. Here at CNN News 18, right through 2022, perhaps the biggest investigation of all, multiple cases, multiple instances, multiple stings. And not just last year, we ended up 2021 to exposing what is happening and rampant in Punjab. But in Tamil Nadu this time around, it's shocking. It's shocking because Lavanya is not just the only case. The 6-year-old from the school and the teacher in a government school trying to induce her is not the only case. It's outright rampant. Young children, gullible children, in the guise of imparting them education and moral science, are being lured, are being induced, and are being talked down of their own existing faiths. They are being told that their existing faith or their worship is Satan, that the only book that they should hold is the Bible, and it's going to be Christianity that is going to make them better students and give them a better life, otherwise they will be poor. It's a mega CNN News 18 investigation. Anvit Srivastava, who took the story in Punjab, also went down to Tamil Nadu and spent time there. Across the region, all of Kanyakumari, South Tamil Nadu, we have gone there extensively to try and get you the details of what is perhaps the biggest investigation that you would see. And we are only showing you one aspect, the aspect where the most vulnerable, the most innocent of them all, children, are being brazenly induced by this mafia, which has made conversion, a racket, a business. And here is another expose as part of our mega investigation, an ugly conversion racket that stands exposed. Students between the age group of 10 and 11 tell CNN News 18 that prayer assemblies are being brazenly used as conversion platforms. They say that Hindus were equated to Satan and they were asked to pray to Jesus, a vicious dimension that now emerges. Listen in.
இது தெரியாது ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது ஜி ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது
ஃபேஸ்லாம் தெரியாது
ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது
எப்படி அவங்க என்ன டீச்சர் என்ன சொன்னாங்க எப்படி பிரேயர் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க
பிரேயர் மட்டும் தான் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க
ஆமா
ரைட்டா
பிரேயர் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி
என்ன நடந்தது உங்க ஸ்கூல்ல வந்துட்டு இந்த மாதிரி பைபிள்லாம் வந்து படிக்க சொன்னாங்களா இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு
அப்படிலாம் சொல்லல
ஓகே
பிரேயர் பண்ண தான் சொன்னாங்க
பிரேயர் பண்ணா என்ன நடக்கும்னு சொன்னாங்க
அவன் எல்லாருக்கும் எல்லாம் ஒரு சரியாகும் அப்படிதான் சொன்னாங்க
என்ன சரியாகும்னு சொன்னாங்க
இது இப்போ நான் கீழே விழுந்திருக்கவங்களுக்கு கீழே எல்லாரும் விழுந்திருக்காங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு கால்லாம் சரியாகும்
ஓகே
அப்படி சொன்னாங்க
எந்த கடவுளை நினைச்சு ப்ரே பண்ணீங்க
அது கடவுள் நினைச்சு அப்படி இல்லை எல்லாரும் இது கடவுளே எல்லாரும் இது ஏசப்பாயோட ரத்தத்தை எல்லாரும் மேலே போடுங்க
அதான் ஏசப்பானா ஜீசஸை நினைச்சு ப்ரே பண்ண சொன்னாங்க இது இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு எத்தனை நாளாக உங்ககிட்டலாம் வந்து சொல்லிக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறாங்க
கொஞ்ச நாள்
முன்னாடிலேருந்து சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்களா இப்போ உங்களை வந்துட்டு இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு சாத்தா ஹிந்து அந்த மாதிரிலாம் எதாவது சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க
அது எங்கள்கிட்ட சொல்ல வைஷ்ணவி ஒரு
அந்த பொண்ணு 6th தான்
ஆமா அவள்கிட்ட தான் தனியா கூப்பிட்டு வச்சு இப்படிலாம் ஹிந்து எல்லாம் சாத்தான் அப்படிலாம் சொன்னாங்க
ஓகே உங்களுக்கு வேற என்ன சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க
எங்களுக்கு வேற ஒன்றும் சொன்னது தெரியல வைஷ்ணவிட்ட தான் தனியா கூப்பிட்டு வச்சு சொன்னாங்க
ஓகே உங்களை இந்த மாதிரி வேற யாராவது எந்தெந்த ஸ்டாண்டர்ட்லாம் பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க
இது எங்க 6th இப்படி சொன்னாங்க 7th சொல்லிருக்கான்
ஓகே சரி
இயேசுவெல்லாம் நல்லா கும்பிடணும் பைபிள்லாம் படிக்கணும் இது நல்லா படிக்கணும் இது யாருக்கு ஏதாவது வந்தாலும் இயேசுவை கும்பிடுங்க அப்பதான் எல்லாம் நல்லா நடக்கும் அடுத்து நிறைய சொன்னாங்க
சரி வேற என்ன சொன்னாங்க நீங்க என்ன சொன்னீங்க அதுக்கு
நாங்க ஒண்ணும் தெரியல நாங்க இதுல இருந்தோம் நாங்க அவங்க சொல்ல கேட்டுட்டு அந்த பெஞ்சில இருந்தோம்
சரி வேற என்ன உங்க பேரண்ட்ஸ் கிட்ட சொன்னீங்களா நீங்க
ஆமா
பேரண்ட்ஸ் என்ன சொன்னாங்க அதுக்கு
பேரண்ட்ஸ் சொன்னாங்க நாங்க ஸ்கூலுக்கு வரோம் அப்படின்னு
ஓகே இப்போ உங்கள மாதிரி எல்லா ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் கிட்ட சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்களா என்ன பண்ணனும் இந்த மாதிரி எல்லாம் பண்ணி
7th சொல்லிருக்காங்க வேற எந்த கிளாஸ்ல
என்ன நடக்கும்னு சொல்லிருக்காங்க
இயேசுவை கூப்பிட்டா எல்லாம் நல்லதா நடக்கும் இயேசு எப்போ நம்ம கூட இருப்பாங்க
ஓகே வேற ஏதாவது சொன்னாங்களா இந்துக்கள் வந்துட்டு இந்த மாதிரி சாத்தான அந்த
ஆமா அப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க
என்ன சொன்னாங்க
இயேசுக்கள் இருக்கனால எல்லாரும் நல்லா குடிக்கிறாங்க இயேசுதான் இது ஹிந்துக்கள் இருக்கனால எல்லாரும் நல்லா குடிக்கிறாங்க ஹிந்துக்கள் வந்து சாத்தான்
அப்படின்னு சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க
இது இயேசு ஹிந்து சாத்தான்லாம் சொல்றது இப்போ நான் இடல இது கதை எல்லாம் இயேசு பற்றி கதை எல்லாம் சொல்லாது முந்தைய சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க
முன்னாடில இருந்து சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க
And more, the father of the student is now told CNN News 18 and he's spoken to Anvit where he says that he was just told a day back that his 6-year-old had to go through in the school where he was told to pray to Jesus Christ and warned that a prayer to a Hindu deity would lead to deformities. Listen in.
மகா வந்து நேத்தைக்கு எல்லாரும் ஜெபம் பண்ணணும் சொல்லி ஜெபம் பண்ணணும், எல்லாரும் இது பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிக்கிட்டு ப்ரேயர் பண்ணணும்னு சொல்லிக்கிட்டு இப்போ 2 நாளாக இது பண்ணாங்க மிஸ்ன்னு சொல்லி அம்மா வந்து கம்ப்ளைண்ட் சொன்னான். அது இது பண்ணணும் இல்லை.
நீங்க போயிட்டு ஸ்கூல் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்
இல்லை கம்ப்ளைண்ட் இன்னைக்கு கேட்கலான்னு பார்த்தேன். நமக்கு இல்லை கேட்கல.
சரி, அத ஏன் கேட்கல?
இல்லை நான் இப்போ காலைல வந்து விட்டுட்டு போனேன். எனக்கு தொழில் உண்டு.
எத்தனை நாளா வந்துட்டு
தெரியல, நேற்றுக்கு தான் என்னட்ட சொன்னது.
சரி, ஓகே. இந்த மாதிரி தொடர்ந்து எல்லா ஸ்டாண்டர்ட்லயும் வந்து சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க. நாங்க ஒரு பொண்ணு வந்து 6th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் இருக்காங்க, ஒரு பொண்ணு வந்து 7th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் இருக்காங்க. இந்த மாதிரி வந்து எல்லா ஸ்டாண்டர்ட்லயும் சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க.
இல்லை அது இல்லை, ஏன்னா மகா 6th படிக்க நேற்று வந்து சொன்னான்.
ஓகே, இது மாதிரி என்னன்னு சொன்னாங்க ஆக்சுவலா?
இது ஜெபம் பண்ணணும், எல்லாரும் ப்ரேயர் பண்ணணும், அப்படி இப்படின்னு ஏதாவது நொண்டி காலு எல்லாம் இதாக அப்படி இப்படின்னு சொன்னாங்க.
மதத்துக்குள்ள வேறுபாடு வந்து
வேறுபாடு. ஆமாம் ஆமாம், அந்த மாதிரி பார்க்குங்க. இதுவரை கம்ப்ளைண்ட் கிடையாது. இன்னைக்கு தான் நேற்றே தான் கம்ப்ளைண்ட் இருந்துச்சு.
What all inducements and misinformation, false promises, false information, all being given to children who are vulnerable at a place where they're supposed to be educated. They are actually being used as conversion tools. Anvit, this is shocking, and this is the same school where that 6-year-old came out and said this is what the government teacher was telling us, and this is now they are saying this is what is being said at the prayer assemblies. Yes. That means so it's not just one teacher.
No,
the whole school is hand in glove is what is going on.
Definitely, and not just one teacher and not just one class. These students were of class 6, but they told us that even students of class 7th and 8th are being told similar things. And not just in prayer halls they are anyway being made to say Christian prayers. But apart from that, they are all being told that you must read Jesus, you must read Bible, you must pray in a particular way. And why is it happening? People are questioning that even if they are being asked why are they following, it is because they have been instilled with fear. Children have different kind of fear. They are being told that if you do not follow this pattern, you will academically not do better. You will not be able to take care of your families. In the same place, parents are being told separate things. They are being told if
no, how can you tell a child that you will get deformities if you don't convert to Christianity, if you don't pray to Jesus? How can you tell a child that you will not get education, or you will not remember, or you will forget, and you cannot study hard if you don't convert to Christianity? That is brazen. This is misuse of the right or a freedom that's given to you to propagate your religion. You are misusing that, and they are also talking down your current faith. That's also happening.
Definitely. So parents are being told that if you don't tell your child to follow this particular religion, he will have deformities. He'll fall sick, and parents are being threatened that children might die also, and therefore you should convert to Christianity. We saw another case which you mentioned earlier, that a mother turns to Christianity only to save her own daughter, and then daughter dies, and then she has no option but to convert back to Hinduism. So all kinds of fear are being instilled just because the democracy has so democratically changed over the past 2 decades that these parents are also being told that if you do not follow this particular pattern, you will become outcast. You will be boycotted by the others who are living in the same society.
But why are parents still sending their children to the school if they know consistently that this is what is happening?
Many parents have complained. They have taken up the matter with the school administration. So these are people who are not very much aware. They complain to school administration. School administration in many cases are not taking these complaints forward. In this particular case, we saw that there was a policeman present in the case when the video of the girl in 6th standard went viral. The cop is not doing anything. He's saying that let the school handle it at their own level, and only when it escalates further, then we'll take the matter up. But what level will it escalate to? Like we saw Lavanya's case. We don't want any other children to meet the similar fate.
No, but there will be the argument कि हमने तो बोला है, but convert तो नहीं किया है. So we have not. So how do you counter something like that? Because a lot of time this is how they try and escape.
Exactly.
A lot of times what happens is, I may have suggested it. Suggestion is not a crime. But this is misinformation.
This is misinformation, and the kind of fear they are instilling into their mind. If you tell a small child, young child, that you'll not be promoted to a class, you'll not get good marks if you don't follow Christianity, or if you don't pray in a particular manner, you'll lag behind in comparison to other students. Imagine the kind of pressure the child would be under. The same happened with Lavanya, is what has come to foray.
Correct. And this is the same school. Is this the same school? These children are wearing a similar uniform to that
they are
child.
The same school of which the video went viral. The 6th standard girl had complained to school administration.
6th standard girl, yeah.
Yes, how her teacher was telling her to that Hindus are Satans, you must read Bible, you must
Correct,
convert
but
to
there
Christianity.
she had mentioned one teacher.
Yes.
Here they are saying that this is being suggested to them in the assembly. So that means assembly, all other students are present. all the teachers are present, and this is a government school.
Yes, yes, this is a government school, and this is why when we approached school administration, they totally refused to comment on it. They did not come forward with any explanation. We asked the school administration, other teachers as well to talk to us, but they completely denied.
They completely denied. And with great job done with the investigation, there are more parts to it, and he's done a lot of hard work on ground. And I also have to credit some of the local help that we got, because they also put themselves in danger to help us with the investigation. We're deliberately withholding their names because they are locals, they are people present there, and we do not want a situation where intimidation happens because we have put out this expose to those people, because you faced intimidation on ground.
Definitely. So when we meant to talk to cops, they tried to drive us out of that school where we were in, and we got many calls that why we have learned that your team is here. What are you doing here? Why are you in this city?
Unknown numbers.
Unknown numbers. We're getting calls that why are you in this city? We have learned that you have visited some schools. What are you trying to do? And we had to not tell them our locations because we were staying in cities, and we had to also visit remote areas. We were not sure whether we'll get help in time if we have some trouble. So we had
whether you get help or you get held.
Exactly.
That's
so
also possible.
That was also a point. So somehow we have to manage, and we have got some case studies on camera, but there are many other people who spoke to us off camera.
Right.
Many other people. Like if we have 10 people on camera, there are at least 20-30 people who have spoken to us off camera. They have told us how these practices are rampant, how children are being told that you'll meet complete failure in life if you do not convert. So these people are scared. They just don't want to come and speak against the administration. Some fear that their students will be thrown out of the school. Some fear that state administration might take some action on them, because there are other facilities that they take from states. But these are the people come from lower strata also.
Correct.
So they fear that what if they are boycotted tomorrow?
Right. So you object here, and then you have to pay the price for it there. So Anvit, great job done. I'm going to take this story forward with our guests who have been also listening and looking at the investigation that we've done. Uma Anandan, Vice President, Temple Worshippers Society. Dr. Teva Prakash, he's the President of the Malviya Educational Group, and Prerna Thiruvaipati, Vice President of the Hindu Janashakti. My namaskarams to everybody. Let me ask Umaji first. Umaji, how is this allowed in a government school with children? This is what children are being told.
This is nothing new in Tamil Nadu. This is what is happening for decades. Why this happened? Another thing, about 2 months or 6 months back in Kanchipuram, a boy was wearing Rudraksha, and the teacher pulled the Rudraksha down and threw it. And she said, you're not supposed to wear all these things. In another Christian school, a private school, a girl child wore mehendi and came to the school. She was forbidden. All these things have been happening for years. The last 50 years of Dravidian rule has seen this. And you have the pseudo people. Christians have been allowed to build institutions right from the British time. And now for the last 50 years, they have been pampered more. They can build any number of institutions. That they call Tirunelveli the Oxford of Tamil Nadu, because they have built everywhere. A CMC could convert so many people, while we Hindus have not been allowed to do this. Everywhere this is happening. The only thing is because we Hindus have given too much trouble of starting our own institutions. Government by itself is seen as a anti-Hindu government. What more do you expect? This is what happens. And this has been happening for the last 30-40 years. And now they've become brazen about it. Otherwise, why do you have a Christian IAS officer? They don't even say they've converted to Christianity. They retain their Hindu card, but hide behind and do their this thing. And because they will lose their benefits, they come on the TV and say, I would like to slap a Hindu on his face. I would like to smash his face. All this is done. And now no action has been taken against them, with repeated complaints from us. Even the court says, just because somebody worships Jesus at home, it doesn't mean they are converted. The entire scenario is against us.
So it's a very, very well thought out of game plan that you're talking about, because Justice Swaminathan of the Madurai bench of the Madras High Court actually spoke about this entire concept of crypto-Christians. That means people who have converted to Christianity but don't declare, continue to retain their Hindu identity just to derive certain caste benefits or reservation benefits. But Dr. Thiva Prakash, that is another aspect, but this is in schools and it's brazen. In the case of Lavanya, it was shocking, but Lavanya is not the only case. It looks like it's happening with everybody else all across Tamil Nadu. We have just gone to South Tamil Nadu and about 3 or 4 districts.
Good evening, Anand. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, the panelists. What you have shown is only a tip of the iceberg. The entire problem is hidden because people were not willing to complain because they were afraid their words would be thrown out of the school. And the second thing is even the police officers may harass. The people are afraid that police officers may harass them, and so they are not willing to complain. Another thing is this is a government school. Government paid teacher is doing this conversion job, but there are 200 to 300 private schools run by missionaries and Christian individuals. They are purposely doing this. Every prayer they have, every counseling session they will have, and even some NGOs like people, they will enter into the school campus. They will say they are going to produce an awareness program about anemia or something like that. And then they will collect their numbers. They will indirectly talk about conversion. They indirectly talk about, we have a god called Sasta. They will make it Satan. Satan means devil. So like that, they will gradually inject those.
So Dharma Shastra or Ayyappan becomes devil, Satan. Then you have the political narrative where they will deride Rama and Vel, that is Murugan. So they will use all of that also.
The Dravidian parties, according to their principle, they know God. So no Hindu God. No God means for them no Hindu gods. They will talk ill about Hindu gods only. So they are also facilitating this process of religious conversion happening through the schools. And parents are not
hospitals everywhere. See, they go inside hospitals, they go inside prisons, they do their propagation, no questions asked. While in a Hindu institution, I cannot teach about Hindu values.
No, but yeah, that is exactly what I'm trying to ask you, Umaji. So if you were to go out and say that let's talk about the Bhagavad Gita, let's talk about Krishna, let's talk about Rama, let's talk about Ayyappa, let's talk about the beauty of a henotheistic form that believes that it's only one God but many manifestations, understand the difference between idols and deities. If you start talking about all of that, then they will say, see, this Hindutva gang is here.
Yes, see, Hindu institutions are attacked. When a Hindu institution like Padma Seshadri, when nothing happened, they're taken to task. What about the complaints against Christian pastors? What about complaints about Christian teachers like this, misbehaving with girl children? Nothing has happened so far. No action against them. While the media went gaga over PSBB issue and Shivashankar Baba, the Hindu godmen are targeted. Hindu institutions are targeted. Hindu individuals are targeted. Hindu, everything to do with Hinduism targeted. I cannot teach Bhagavad Gita. I cannot teach Hindu hymns in my school. I cannot even first start an institution. With great difficulty, I start an institution with Hindu values. And
the irony is that Hindu faith itself does not have the freedom to try and set up its own institutions and educational institutions because the law does not provide for that. But this is government schools. 1 minute, Umaji, I'm just going to bring in Prerna Tiruvapati. Prerna ji, the fact is this is government schools. Government schools, why is this being allowed? And this is brazen. This is not a missionary school. This is a government school, and there are other private schools where this is being followed brazenly. With children you are doing this. That's also against the law.
Namaskaram, Anandji. Namaskaram, Anandji. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Namaskaram, Prerna ji. Please, go ahead, please.
Anandji, this is not just happening in Tamil Nadu.
In Andhra Pradesh as well, this is happening rampantly in government schools, government-funded schools. Not private institutions, but government-funded schools. And the main reason none of this is coming out, or the media is not covering it, is because of the government that is in, the ruling party, as well as the Dalit students, the minor Dalit students who are actually studying in these Andhra Pradesh government schools are being coerced into reading the Bible and converting to Christianity against the wishes of their Hindu parents. This is not coming out in public. And when we wrote a letter to the National Commission of Scheduled Castes, it turns out that the Andhra Pradesh chairman for the National Commission is a person named Victor Prasad. So the appointment of this person who is heading the National Commission of Andhra Pradesh, needs to be questioned because it is unconstitutional. His appointment itself is unconstitutional. His name is Victor Prasad, and he's the chairman of the AP Commission. This needs to be probed. And this comes from the central government. It's a cabinet secretary post. How can a Christian be appointed? And people who are actually eligible, the candidates who actually need to be on that post, they are losing their chance.
So what you're saying is that this is so brazen, it is so brazen that everybody sees it is happening, but nobody is pushing it and talking about it because it's not being highlighted. So we've done the job of highlighting it. Prerna ji, I'm going to come back to you. What I want to do is I just quickly want to play out what are parts of our investigation. The students, especially, what they are saying is happening to them in schools. It's not just one school. It's across districts, multiple schools. It's the same story everywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Listen in.
இது தெரியாது ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது ஜி ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது
ஃபேஸ்லாம் தெரியாது
ஃபேஸ் தெரியாது
எப்படி அவங்க என்ன டீச்சர் என்ன சொன்னாங்க எப்படி ப்ரேயர் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க
ப்ரேயர் மட்டும் தான் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க
ஆமா
ரைட்டா
ப்ரேயர் பண்ண சொன்னாங்க அப்படின்னு சொல்லி
என்ன நடந்தது உங்க ஸ்கூல்ல வந்துட்டு இந்த மாதிரி பைபிள்லாம் வந்து படிக்க சொன்னாங்களா இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு
அப்படிலாம் சொல்லல
ஓகே
ப்ரேயர் பண்ண தான் சொன்னாங்க
ப்ரேயர் பண்ணா என்ன நடக்கும்னு சொன்னாங்க
அவன் எல்லாருக்கும் எல்லாம் சரியாகும் அப்படிதான் சொன்னாங்க
என்ன சரியாகும்னு சொன்னாங்க
இது இப்போ கீழே விழுந்திருக்கவங்களுக்கு கீழே எல்லாரும் விழுந்திருக்காங்கன்னா அவங்களுக்கு கால்லாம் சரியாகும்
ஓகே அப்படி
சொன்னாங்க
எந்த கடவுளை நினைச்சு ப்ரே பண்ண
அது கடவுளை நினைச்சு அப்படி இல்லை எல்லாரும் இது கடவுளே எல்லாரும் ஏசப்பாயோட ரத்தத்தை எல்லாரும் மேலே போடுங்க
அதான் ஏசப்பானா ஜீசஸை நினைச்சு ப்ரே பண்ண சொன்னாங்க இது இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு எத்தனை நாளா உங்ககிட்டலாம் வந்து சொல்லிக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க
கொஞ்ச நாள் முன்னாடி தான்
கொஞ்ச நாள் முன்னாடில இருந்து சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்களா இப்போ உங்களை வந்துட்டு இந்த மாதிரி வந்துட்டு சாத்தா ஹிந்து அந்த மாதிரிலாம் ஏதோ சொல்லிட்டு இருக்காங்க
அது எங்கள்கிட்ட சொல்ல வைஷ்ணவின்னு ஒரு
அந்த பொண்ணு 6th தான்
ஆமா அவள்கிட்ட தான் தனியா கூப்பிட்டு வச்சு இப்படிலாம் ஹிந்து எல்லாம் சாத்தான் அப்படிலாம் சொன்னாங்க
ஓகே ஓகே உங்களுக்கு வேற என்னென்னலாம் சொல்லிட்டு இருந்தாங்க
எங்களுக்கு வேற ஒன்றும் சொன்னது தெரியல வைஷ்ணவிட்ட தான் தனியா கூப்பிட்டு வச்சு சொன்னாங்க
ஓகே 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 உங்களை இந்த மாதிரி வேற யாராவது எந்தெந்த ஸ்டாண்டர்ட்லாம் பண்ணிக்கிட்டு இருக்காங்க
இது எங்க 6th இப்படி சொன்னாங்க 7th சொல்லிருக்கான்
ஓகே ஓகே சரி
Well, we got to take a break, but Umaji, Dr. Thaiva Prakash and also Prerna ji, thank you very, very much. This story continues, ladies and gentlemen. This is our only focus, the big focus later tonight at 7:57 p.m. on The Right Stand. We take a short break here on The Nation at 5. We turn the spotlight towards Alwar, where a day after we put out the reality of Hindus in Malpura, Rajasthan, comes the story of a 300-year-old Shiva temple being demolished, bulldozed in Alwar. Stay with us.